Welcome back to another episode of BHAW Radio. I am your host, Brian Rowan. We're at episode 76. I have Coach Ward on the episode today. It is a post NCAA allocations announcement. It's Wednesday afternoon. The fans know. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
All right. What's up, B-Row? What's up, fans? It's Wednesday, about 2 p.m.-ish right now. And we have practice coming up here at 3 o'clock. So we've got a little bit of time to chat. And then brackets start coming out tonight at 6 p.m. So we know who we've got going to the tournament. We have 4 NCAA qualifiers and their draws and brackets come out tonight in a couple hours. And then we'll see what the opponents in their path to becoming an NCAA champ, what that looks like. We'll know later on today.
Yeah, so that's where we're at now. I know the fans are dying to hear about some of the, some of your thoughts on the weekend. Some highs, some lows. Some in betweens. So let's dive into the EIWA tournament a little bit, and I don't want to run through everything, but kind of some overall thoughts, and then we'll get a little bit more specific from there.
Man, I think. It was an up and down, like roller coaster type tournament for us where, Saturday morning, it looked like we were wrestling pretty good, and we were. And then, by the time we had left the gym on Saturday night, it was a pretty somber mood, amongst the team where we expected a little bit more. To be quite honest, Saturday was a really tough day. It was tough for the guys on our team and the ones that came up short, and it was tough on the coaching staff and tough on our fans and tough on everybody that's a fan of Army wrestling, because when we needed to be great, we weren't great. And that was a hard pill to swallow. And I got to take the blame for it. It starts and stops with me. But Saturday was a tough day, but what you got to do with these tournaments when you have 10 individuals competing is you've got to be able to compartmentalize those things and move forward with the guys that are in the tournament. And we had 5 guys wrestling on Sunday. So we did some really good things. There were some things that we should definitely be really proud of, and some things that we need to, evaluate and be sure that they don't happen again.
Yeah. So kind of starting out, on a positive note, Rich Trainer coming out there first EIWA tournament, and really, coming, beating the 6 seed as the 11 first round, really setting himself up. What are your thoughts on his
I think Richie had a strong tournament. I like his attitude. I like the way he is responding and kind of processing his tournament, and that, he is not satisfied and he's not happy. And, we weren't satisfied with the result that he got, but he faced a lot of adversity this year. He just got back on the mat maybe a few days before our Navy dual meet. And when we made the choice to go with him for the EIWA tournament, it was his first competition since November. So he didn't wrestle December, January, February. He went over 3 months without competing. And his first competition was stepping out of the EIWA tournament, beat a really good kid from Columbia first round. And then makes the semifinals, puts up a good effort there against a really tough opponent that ended up winning the tournament. And, really thought he was capable of coming back and getting third, just didn't quite have the constantly semifinal match that he needed to put himself in position to qualify for the national tournament. I think left way too much out there, too many points not on the board in that match where he's capable of scoring a lot more. So, hey, but the good thing about him is he's realizing that, and I love his attitude. I love his work ethic. So it wasn't a surprise that he did well, but it does bode well for the future that a freshman goes out there and scores some points early on and puts himself in a position to go deep into the tournament. So that was a positive thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned he hadn't wrestled in a while, but you couldn't tell from his condition, and you'd think that later in the tournament, a guy who hasn't wrestled that much, he had to gut it out in that 5th place match, in the first round. Like you couldn't tell, like, conditioning was not a factor for him. He was wrestling tough the whole way.
Yeah, I don't think conditioning was a factor. I think it's a matter of him. He's got to feel more confident and trust his conditioning a little bit more, that he can do more earlier in matches. So maybe he doesn't have to win at the end. Maybe he can start chasing bonus points at the end. But no, he's a tough guy, man, and he's going to compete. He's gritty. So, you know, I wanted more for him at that tournament. He wanted more for himself, but there's nothing but reasons to be excited about his future.
Yeah. Moving up to 41, you know, not to go necessarily in order or anything like that, but I was thinking about Thomas Stack, you know, a little disappointed. You know, I had personally much higher expectations of, you know, kind of him getting further along in the tournament, lost, you know, some close matches. I thought, you know, he, you know, on maybe a different day, wrestles a little bit differently. He's better than those guys. What were your thoughts on Thomas's performance?
I think he wrestled okay against the Binghamton guy. I think you got to figure out, you know, as the match goes on, you're wrestling somebody with a unique style. You got to start to make adjustments and figure some things out. We just didn't make very many adjustments over the course of that match. And maybe we got a little bit tired, it looked like, at the end, and gave up a takedown that we had stopped a few times earlier in the match. You got to be able to score takedowns if you want to win. And if you're not scoring takedowns, you got to turn somebody. We didn't do either one. And then, yeah, I mean, that's fair to say disappointed because, you know, in his wrestleback match, got caught in a big move early and just never did what it takes to come back from being down 6-0. You know, didn't capitalize on opportunities maybe in the end of the first and the second period, and just never clawed his way. I don't know what it was, you know, whether it was emotions or what it was, but yeah, it was kind of a head scratcher watching him. I expected a little bit better performance out of him, and I know he did too. So yeah, that's one of those we got to figure out. Like, he's way too good to be getting beat out of the tournament on day one. But when that happens to you, you have to admit that, you know, that's the reality of where you're at. You've got to get better. So he's got some things to figure out. He's got to get better.
Yeah, I guess continuing down the low road a little bit so we can do more of the high road later on.
Okay.
You know, Dalton Hawkins, still kind of that, you know, he's still in that position where you're like, man, he can win these matches, and he just, you know, he didn't get over the hump. You know, maybe if it was a weekend or two later, you know, he believes in it. But what do you think's, you know, where do you think Dalton's at, and, you know, kind of what's the way forward for him?
Oh, I think he's probably at about 35th or 36th in the country. You know, and you can't argue with that with the record. He had his opportunities this year, and he had plenty of chances. You know, I think if you look at his matches, I think the average deficit of matches he lost was, you know, it's like 2 points or less. So he's got to get one takedown better, you know, every match next year. And if he's one takedown better in every match, then he wins, you know, almost every single match he lost. So yeah, I mean, he's been in those close matches all year. It's a very tough bracket. Everybody he wrestled, you know, the two guys he wrestled are both going to the NCAA tournament. He didn't get beat by some scrub that can't qualify. But then again, you know, when you're in a tough bracket, you got to get tough. And I think Dalton maybe held some points that he's capable of scoring. So yeah, disappointing end to a really strong freshman season for him. But, you know, like you've heard me say about him and his attitude all year, he's got a great attitude. He's a great teammate. He brings positive energy into the room every day. But yeah, there's no question that him not going to the national tournament is a disappointment in every way. And, you know, he's got to get a little bit better, and he's got to trust and believe some things a little bit more. As a coaching staff, we've got to help him figure those things out. And if we do, I mean, he's still every bit as capable as we thought he was 4 or 5 months ago too. So yeah, just we got to help him get over, you know, the hump, get one takedown better in each match. And then if you're one takedown better, you can start being a lot better. You know, it's just needs a little bit of a breakthrough, and he's got to keep working really hard to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah, there's it's a little, you know, the bracket was super tough. I was hoping, you know, with seven allocations, it's like, hey, you win a match, you know, you're putting yourself in a position, you know, to be in the right place. And it's just, you know, everybody was so, you know, everybody was so close in that bracket. You know, there wasn't like, you know, the top 4 guys were head and shoulders above everyone else. You know, it was very close.
Yeah, I mean, I think the top 3 guys in that bracket were considerably better than everybody else, at least that weekend. But outside of that, you know, there was maybe the top 4, maybe you had Cornell in there. But the top 3 for sure were probably, you know, they were separated themselves from everybody else. But you look at, yeah, numbers 4 through 9 in that bracket, or 4 through 10, maybe, you know, like they were super close, and we just didn't do enough to make the breaks go our way. So, but it doesn't mean it has to stay that way. This is the last time we need to have this conversation about Dalton Hawkins as far as I'm concerned. So he's very close. And, sometimes being very, very close is only halfway there. It's a lot of work to close that gap. And that's kind of where we've been with Dalton for a while.
Yeah. Moving up another low spot before we get into the high spots, 184. I don't think I've been as frustrated as a fan behind a screen in a long time. Took a lot on Saturday night to cool me down. Shout out to Tyler McLeese and Dave Collinger for calming me down a little bit. But talk us through that a little bit. Maybe some of the fans who didn't see everything. I feel like I had to watch things 2 or 3 times to even understand why team points were deducted and why DQs happened, and kind of walk us through your thoughts on Brad Laughlin's tournament.
Brad was wrestling pretty good, and he was in that tough quarterfinals bout with the kid from Hofstra, who's he's a good opponent and he's hard to score on, and the match was close, and we had our opportunities. Brad was definitely the aggressor over the course of the match, and it ended up being, we lost in ultimate rideouts after 10 minutes of wrestling. The score was 1-1 after 10 minutes. If that tells you anything, maybe it was 2-1 after 10 minutes. If that tells you anything, there wasn't a ton of action. You can go 10 minutes and there's only 3 points on the board.
Yeah.
And there were no stalling points on the board. So you go 10 minutes of wrestling, 3 points on the board, none of them are stalling. It wasn't a very exciting match. And we needed to force a few more actions in that match. Brad was in like great scoring position late. Maybe it was in the overtime period, just a technical mistake. You can't change off to a double leg on your knees, and ran out of time to finish. He competed hard though. So and then his next match, people need to go watch it. It's in the consolations. It's us and the Binghamton kid, and a scoreless first period. Second period starts, about 15 seconds of wrestling in the second period, and they're getting pretty physical with each other. And the ref blows the whistle, and Brad smacks him, like open hand slaps him across the face. And, their kid did what he could to win an Oscar for acting like he just, got hit by Mike Tyson with a right hook. Their coaches were screaming for the kid to get kicked out of the tournament, and the ref ultimately just completely lost control of the match is what happened. The ref should have stopped the match after the first 2 heavy clubs were thrown and said, "Knock it off, guys." He didn't. He let it go and then blew the whistle, and then Brad got the last smack in, and then DQ'd Brad and ended his career, based off an open hand slap to the face. So that was, man, that's a tough one. That's really hard to feel okay about. I still don't feel okay with it. Here are the facts. Brad slapped somebody after the whistle. You can't do that. That's a fact. You can't slap somebody in the face in wrestling, and you definitely can't do it after the ref blows a whistle. But it should have been a 1 point unsportsmanlike conduct. You guys knock it off and then wrestle some more. But that official's not very good. I couldn't tell you who he is. I'd never seen him before. The first time we saw him here was at the conference tournament. So if that tells you anything, I doubt we'll see him at the conference tournament again. What are you going to do? That's a tough pill to swallow, but ref makes the call, and then ultimately there's nothing you can do about it. So it doesn't take away from everything that Brad's done for this program. He's been a warrior for us and a fighter, and he's got a lot to be proud of. But just that's a painful way to watch somebody's season and their career end, for sure.
Yeah. On a more brighter note, we qualified, 4 guys to yesterday, to kind of run through, OG first time back, got a couple good matches under his belt early. Walk us through kind of his tournament and the decision to not wrestle him against Gianni, wrestle him in the next match. Let's get your thoughts on OGs.
Yeah. So, he's still, he's closing in on being 100%, but I think anybody that really knows him and watched him in the tournament, he wasn't wrestling at 100%. And that's obvious. I don't know. You can put a number on it, whatever you want, but it wasn't 100. He got a couple wins that he needed to get into the semifinals the next day. And looking at, the goal with the conference tournament is to punch your ticket and go to the NCAA tournament. That was OG's goal, knowing that his match count was going to be limited. It was like, you're probably not going to wrestle 5 or 6 matches this weekend. because it's the first competition back since an injury. So yeah, when we got into Sunday morning, you know, he has the number 1 seed, the kid from Cornell, a couple-time national champ. And, you know, looking at the bracket, we're like, okay, look, you got to win 1 match today to be an automatic qualifier. And I'm thinking to myself, which match do you want to, you got to win 1 match. What match is it going to be? Is it going to be, because we know if you win this and then you go to the finals, you're going to default. You're not going to wrestle the finals. And so you're going to wrestle 1 match today. So ultimately we said, okay, we're going to take the injury default against Yanni and then wrestle the next match. And if we win it, we're in the national tournament. And if not, you know, we have a chance for an at-large bid, because those 2 matches on Sunday gave him 15 matches for the season. And you have to have 2 matches you have to have 15 to have an RPI. So those 2 matches got him to 15. And it worked out, you know, like, he lost the second match on Sunday, which was a bummer for sure. But it got him in the position that he needed to be to get an at-large bid, which he deserves and which he got. So that was it was a shitty decision. Nobody wants to have to make that decision to have your athlete injury default. And by the way, that was my decision and not his. It was also 100% the right decision to make. And given the same situation, the next 100 times I would make the same decision as much as it sucked. It's a bad look. I get it. Nobody wants that. But given the situation and what I know that outsiders may not, it was the right decision to make. And I would do it again in a heartbeat because it was the right thing for PJ.
Yeah. A lot of talk in the wrestling world about medical forfeits. An annoying amount of it. It's all that's on Twitter. It's all people are talking about in other podcasts. So I don't.
That's what fans need to talk about, you know, that's why we need fans. We have to be able to put up with it and listen to it. So it's a little bit, it's too discussed. It's overly talked about right now. You know, and there's a few reasons why this happens, but the bottom line is, it's like the analogy I use is, look, if the Patriots are a lock for the playoffs and Belichick plays Tom Brady on the last game of the year, what do people say about Belichick? You know, he's an idiot. Why are you playing Tom Brady? You know, he's got a playoff game next week. But you can't do that in wrestling because there's no backup in a tournament. You know what I mean? If it was a dual meet, you could sit somebody out and put their backup in. In tournaments, you can't. I'm not a fan of doing it, but I can understand why other coaches do. And you know, and fans' job is to be a fan and have their own opinions, and we need that. So, you know, but for our personal situation, we had 1 medical forfeit, and it was a guy that has a legit injury and he's coming back from it, and we want him to be 100% in Detroit. So that was why our decision was made.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, some coming on, and there's some really irrational takes out there. I won't name names, but everyone's has their solution to this.
Name names, B-roll. We want names.
No, we've been down this road before, but you know, some people are calling, you know, hey, if you medical forfeit at a tournament, you know, you just not should qualify. Or, you know, if that was the case, you know, OG would have wrestled. Yes, because he wants, you know, but you have a guy that hasn't wrestled in a month, you know, does he need to get 5 matches, you know, to be in the NCAA tournament, or could he get 2 or 3? And, you know, they're saying, oh, if you're not healthy at conference, then are you going to be healthy 10 days later? It's like, you may be a little bit more, and not wrestling those 3 extra matches, you're not really factoring in how much more hurt you could get an ailment. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, it sucks. It's a bad look. I get that. I would say very few Division I coaches are bitching about it like fans are, because we understand that, man, it's like, it is hard. It is really hard. And when you have somebody that's injured, those are tough decisions. Nobody wants to sit an athlete, no true competitor. Sometimes you got to do what you think is best for the welfare of your athlete. If it's not a popular thing, then that's your decision as a leader and a coach, to make unpopular decisions that you think are right for your athletes. So I'm not here to judge, you know, like, it's a bad look. I understand that, but we can't judge.
How often do you think people are getting like they're sitting because they're protecting a don't want to take a loss to another guy, or you think most?
Dude, like I said, I'm sure that happens. I'm sure it happens, but I'm not doing it. I can't. It's not in my fiber. I could never do that. I'm sure it happens, but I bet it happens less than people think. There's also other circumstances involved. So all I can speak about is our team and our athletes here, and we're going to do what we think is best for them.
Yeah. So kind of moving up, Marcus Hartman, wrestled the way Marcus Hartman does.
What did I say
the ups
before?
and downs.
I mean, I said before the tournament, like, we can't give up 3 reversals. We didn't. We gave up 2. In the quarterfinals, I'm like, come on, man, we lost 4-2. We gave up 2 reversals. He's just got to make some adjustments and wrestle a little bit smarter is the bottom line. Like, he's wrestled that guy twice and he scored the only takedowns in the matches. Stop giving up reversals. So he's got to make some adjustments, but his effort was there. I mean, the way he wrestled back on Sunday. I mean, that match he had with the kid from Penn, who's very tough and we have a lot of respect for, that was a great win by Marcus. Gritty and tough, and he had to gut it out. So his competitiveness is there. He's going to make some adjustments as we move forward to the last few matches for him.
Yeah, I was really pumped when he beat that Penn guy. That Penn guy's good.
Yeah, that was a good win, man. That kid is good. That Russell's a high pace, and so good win for Markey.
Yeah. So Ben Pazuk, is wrestled really well, really tough pace. That bracket was tough coming through for third place. Losing a close match that most people would say, even unbiased would say that he out wrestled the guy. But coming back for third, what are your thoughts on Ben's weekend? How's he looking going forward?
Well, I don't know, I'm not going to take a cheap shot and say we out wrestle. I think we were more offensive and we were more aggressive, but we have to win those positions. If we're going to create positions, we need to win them. And so it's an adjustment thing for Ben. Like, if we're going to get to the legs and create those positions, and we need to win those positions and not get them stalemated. And we were close to scoring a few times, and the guy did a good job of scrambling out of it. So we ought to make some adjustments there. But man, I was really happy with Ben's effort. Like, he can wrestle a lot better than he did. He's just a fighter and a competitor, and he wants to win. And he was able to win. What did he win? 3 overtime matches or 2 overtime matches in the tournament. So he showed some heart, and gutted those things out. So, with him and like our other 3 guys that are going to the tournament, I don't know what they're going to be seated at the national tournament, probably 20 to 30, not seated very high. But they are a dangerous matchup for anybody. So he continues to wrestle better. Those matches he had 3 overtime matches, I think, and won 2 of them. Winning and competing in matches like that is going to make him better. So that's an exciting thing, is that he's going to be better in Detroit than he was last weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Fired up. Can't
yeah.
Wait next week. I'm counting. It's like going to be Christmas Eve on
I know, man. Yeah, we leave in less than a week. Can you believe it? So we're pumped.
Yeah. 97 JT, it's slightly, disappointing, on my end as far as, the performance, but he gets an at-large bid. What are your thoughts on his performance this weekend and, kind of moving forward, NCAAs, wrestling?
My thoughts on him are, I appreciate him so much. This is his 5th year in our program. Recruited him as a high school junior, senior. And so I've known him for a long time, and I appreciate JT so much. I'm happy for him that he's going to the tournament. The EIWA tournament was not the performance he wanted. And I'm like, we're playing with house money now, man. Like, we got in, you got an at-large, we have nothing to lose. Let's go. Let's just go have some performances we're going to be proud of, because I believe in him. And if he does that, then there's no reason he can't be wrestling on Saturday at the NCAA championship. So no, I just appreciate JT so much, and I'm excited for him to get another opportunity. I'm excited to be able to be in his corner a few more times. Like, after his last match at the EIWA tournament, I told him, I said, man, you're really close. You got a very real chance of getting an at-large bid. And I said, but whether you get it or whether you don't, it doesn't change how proud I am of you and how much you mean to me in this program. But man, I hope we get to do this one more time. And then when it came out yesterday that he got the at-large, I was like, hell yes, man, let's go one more time. I'm going to enjoy it. You know, I'm not going to take it for granted. Excited to get one more round with him.
So how did you get the news? Were you like just refreshing?
I got the news just like you. We all get the news like you do. I'm refreshing Twitter every 3 seconds, refreshing. Yeah. And then boom, the new tweet's up. Click the link and you scroll through and you're like, 49. Oh, it's on you. Yes. Scroll down, 97, JT Brown got it. And then punch my desk a few times, scream, take off running in the wrestling room, let them know, celebrate. And then say, okay, now let's get to work. But that's how we
practice when it came out, or they just started?
What's that?
Were they in the middle of practice when it came out?
No. So we were supposed to start practice at 3. The announcements were supposed to come out at 3:00. So everybody's just out there like playing dodgeball or whatever, trying to act like they're not nervous. And I'm in here just refreshing, and then run out there, and then we started practice after that. So yeah, that's how the coaches find out, just like you and a couple dozen other fans that are listening right now. We all find out the same way.
Yeah, I didn't set an alarm for it, so it was like 3:04 p.m. and I looked down and watched. I was like,
what?
"Oh shit!"
You call yourself a fan?
I was like, well, "It's 3:04." I was in a parking lot, and I was scrolling through. I couldn't believe that nobody had texted me yet. That's where I was like, so I saw it was 3:04.
Why do we think we have to text Beer? You're super fan. You've got to be all over this.
You know how many group texts I'm in? I'm a
I
little
don't.
disappointed.
No, like how many? You got your CrossFit group text. You got your CrossFit.
I'm just talking wrestling group texts. There's probably 50 with like random individual people that I thought somebody like my worry at 3:04 was that, oh shoot, they didn't make it. That's why nobody's texted yet. And so I'm going through in my head the 30 seconds it takes me to get to the tweet and then see it. And then that's when I texted Logan Everett and Tyler McLeese in that group text. And then he was like, it came out. I'm like, you guys are bad fans.
They're bad fans, and they're only worse than you. So, but that was it. So we see the brackets and the draws tonight. Let's go. Like it doesn't matter what number is next to your name, who you're competing against. It matters that we believe that we can beat anybody in the country, no matter what. So that's what we got to do.
Yeah. How much individual preparation, like video individual preparation when you guys get the matchups, do you guys do between tonight and, a week and, 8 days from
now? Right now, that's mainly on coaches. We'll do the scouting. And if each individual athlete likes to go over film, we'll go over film with them. It's up to the coaches. We need to do our job to scout and be ready. But more than anything, it's about having our individuals prepared. So we focus on them, get them ready to move forward. That's going to be what we only have a few, less than a week left here on campus. So we have a few workouts and then we'll be ready to go.
Perfect. We didn't hit on heavyweight or 125 at all, but any thoughts on the young guys at at heavyweight, and even Chauvin's fairly young at 25. Any thoughts on those guys rounding out the
yeah, I think Cade, that was Cade's first trip to the tournament, and that's valuable experience. It was a one move match that that his last one there where he won a match, which was great, and then then he wrestled a very tough kid from Cornell in the second round, and then wasn't able to come back and win on Saturday night. So we need him too, and he knows that. We can't be satisfied with leaving that tournament on day one, that's for sure. So he's got work to do. Ryan Chauvin, is the same thing. We love Ryan. He's a great teammate, and just got to find a couple more scores every tournament, and we do that, then we're going to be okay. So we appreciate those guys, and they're not done. So then we had 4 seniors in our lineup. 3 of them are going to the national tournament, and everybody else, that means there's 6 guys that wrestle at the EIWA tournament that are coming back next year, and they need to grow from the experiences that they've had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of get into listener questions now.
Yeah.
One, and it was a little bit of overall performance about lack, of the ability to get out on bottom. So one of the questions was any consideration for wrestlers not to choose bottom in NCAAs?
I think if you look at our tournament, we did a really good job on bottom. So to be quite honest, I'm not exactly sure where that question comes from. When you look at Marcus's match against Cerniglia, issues there, obviously, and then his match against Humphreys. Well, everybody in the country has issues with Humphreys when he's on top. So, we would definitely not choose bottom when we wrestle Humphreys again. I don't think we'll choose bottom. Other matchups, Harkins did a great job getting away from a couple of really good riders. Pazuk didn't get ridden. 84 didn't get ridden. 97, we had, some issues there when we let a leg in against Navy. That was tough. And we got claw ridden and kind of scarf ridden by the kid from Penn at 97. Heavyweight outmatched there with their leg rider from Cornell. But yeah, I'm kind of rambling now, but no, I mean, every matchup is different, but there were not issues as a team on bottom. We did a pretty good job. It showed in Richie Trainor's match how much time he missed, because we've covered a lot of the stuff that he needed to know how to get away from Kolioko, and he just wasn't doing it, which means he doesn't know it. He wasn't even trying it. That's on the coaches to make sure he's ready. But I get the question. I think it's a fair question. I just don't think it's a valid one, considering the way we wrestled. And going forward, I mean, every match is different. You get 1 point for getting off bottom. So sometimes it's not worth being down there. And most of the time it is, case by case.
Yeah. Some questions around OG's health, ankle. Is it getting better? Any other comments on that?
He's going to be 100% in Detroit. I don't think he was 100% last weekend. Anybody that knows him and watched him wrestle would probably say the same thing. He'll be 100% next time he steps on the mat. He is definitely getting better. And once you start getting back on the mat, the progress happens so fast. If you've been off the mat for 5 weeks and then you get on the mat for 7 or 10 days in a row, you can start to pick, your timing is back, your quickness is back, everything he's going to be a different wrestler in Detroit.
Awesome. That's very uplifting to hear. This was a question for you. What was the worst injury you had from wrestling?
I was very fortunate. I had a torn MCL, which didn't require surgery. And I dislocated my elbow, which put me out for 5 or 6 weeks one time. A few bits of torn cartilage in my ribs, and those keep you out depending on how bad it is, a week or maybe even 2 weeks or maybe more. But I was pretty lucky, I was always pretty flexible, and which allowed me to escape a lot of knee injuries, and just the normal bumps and bruises, man. I've never had a surgery. So even when dislocated my elbow, just pop it back into place. It didn't break. Out for a few weeks. I was very fortunate in my career to not face, any injuries that kept me out longer than 4 or 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks at a time.
Yeah. Last question. What's your favorite team moment this year and why?
What's my favorite what?
Team moment, moment from the team perspective.
Zero questions about it. Corey Shy's headlock against Lehigh. No doubt, because I just knew where we're at in the season. I know that any match that him or the other guy was wrestling at those weight classes, I thought this could be their last match because it was neck and neck with them. And so knowing that in my head at the time, that could have been Corey's last match, on senior day, and to watch him have a moment like that he's able to celebrate and feel really good about. That's what you want. That's what I want for my athletes. It's I want to help them create good memories, and good experiences that they're going to look back on and be really proud of, and, and have stories that they want to tell people. So yeah, that was fun to watch him do that. That was classic Corey Shy, man. He was a competitor. And once he hit that headlock, he was not getting off his back. Corey was going to rip the guy's head off, and just seeing that, like, awesome. So that was a fun moment.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
People are going to say, hey, where were you when that happened? I'll say, I was right there.
Yeah. Corey's going to be able to tell that story, man. So, I was really happy for him when he did that.
Yeah. So those are all the listener questions. Before we wrap up, kind of the schedule between now and NCAAs. When's what's the practice schedule like next couple days when you guys travel? What's the practice schedule like out there?
So, we practice in like 20 minutes today. Today's Wednesday. So we'll be here. We leave next Tuesday. So it's less than a week. We leave early on next Tuesday morning. We fly to Detroit. We'll work out there on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then compete Thursday through Saturday. So what we have is we have enough time for like 3 hard practices between now and then. There's some recovery and some weight management and get healthy again type stuff. And then just a couple of intense workouts where it's make sure our timing's right, make sure we're still hitting really hard and we're crisp, and the mindset's right. But from this point on, man, the training is above the neck and between the ears. Physically, they're ready. They just have to be fresh, confident. So we'll get a couple hard workouts in, but that's it. The hay's in the barn, training's done. So it's time to just be excited about opportunities we have and be excited to go compete.
The hay's in the barn.
That's it, man. Ain't nothing else to it. Let's get out there and scrap.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today. I'm hoping that maybe when brackets come out, get a little insiders video breakdown of the matchups.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'll do that. Brackets are out tonight. Maybe I can do an insiders thing, before the weekend and get that out there to you guys. Yeah,
if any listeners are interested in becoming an insider, reach out, let us know. I think that'd be a good insiders video to get a closer.
It's awesome, man. WestPointWrestlingClub.com, Army Wrestling Insiders. It's like $75 a year, and that's it. And you'll get exclusive content. You'll get kind of behind the scenes look. You'll get breakdowns from coaches and athletes, stuff that nobody else has access to. And all the donations, all the fees for insiders go straight to the West Point Wrestling Club, which is something we have to continue to grow if we want to compete. If we want to compete for EIWA and NCAA trophies, then we're going to have to grow the club. So I appreciate you bringing that up. I hope some of you guys will sign up for it. And if you do, you'll get an inside look at the brackets coming up here in a few days.
Yeah, awesome. Well, appreciate you hopping on, Kevin.
All right, B-Row, I appreciate you. I appreciate all our fans. Go Army. We'll see you guys in Detroit.
See you guys.
Cool.
Thanks for tuning in to the BHAW Radio Show. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. If there's something you'd like to hear on a future show, reach out to us on any of our social media, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Or you can reach us at email, bhaw.radio@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and as always, go Army, be Navy.